Today we get back to work on the guitar. Don't go away. Hello friends and welcome to Fat Guy Productions. I am Paul, coming to you as always from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Today we will get back to work on my Fretwire Les Paul style guitar kit. Now when we left off, we had just put the finish on the flame maple front of the guitar. And while we were away, I applied the tobacco brown finish to the sides, back, neck, and head. We have a lot to do today, so we had better get busy. Okay, so when we left you last time, I had just finished putting on the sunburst finish on the flame maple front of the guitar. While we were gone, I went ahead and I applied the tobacco brown finish to the sides, the back, the neck, and the head of the guitar. And so that's pretty much where we left you. Today, we're going to go ahead and get the clear coat on and get this thing polished up so that we can go ahead and take the final steps and put this thing together. So, we have a lot to do. Let's get to work. So after this dried for about a week, I made a cardboard template of the front and I taped that down to mask off the front, and then I sprayed several layers of the tobacco brown on the neck and the head and the sides and back of the guitar. So I let that dry for about a week, and now I'm ready to scrape the binding here. And I gotta be honest with you, this may be the hardest part of the entire guitar. I hated every second of this. In fact, at this point, while scraping it, I did have a slip, and I put a little scratch in the guitar. And of course, my son was the first one to go, "Is that a hair on the guitar, or what is that?" I go, "No, it's a big giant scratch, and thank you for showing me just how obvious it is." So I ended up taking a little bit of the red and decanted it into a little container and touched the scratch up with the red. It's not as bad as it was, but it's still visible. But at this point, there's no way I could go backwards. Maybe a pro could have, but there's no way I could. So I just did the best I could and pressed forward. So all I'm using is a razor here, and I'm very carefully at an angle scraping away the finish off the binding so it becomes nice and white, and it's this clean delineation between the color on the front and the color on the sides. Go slow, think ahead, take your time, and just do your best here. This seems to be a skill that you really need to develop over time, so unless you're working at a guitar shop, all you can do is the best you can do. Maybe it would have been better to mask the binding off, I don't know, but this seems to be the accepted method for doing this, but I hated every second of it. Gotta be honest here. Well, I did hate it, but in the end, it came out pretty good. I got all the finish off the binding, and it really does make a difference between, separating that color on the front and the dark tones on the back, and it really made this thing look like a guitar. So you have to do it. It's just not very much fun. Once I finished scraping all the binding, I went ahead and wiped the guitar down with a new tack cloth, and I taped off the neck so that I can go back out to the garage and start putting on the clear coats. What we're doing is, as you can see, we have the finish on the front of the guitar, we have the finish on the back of the guitar, the neck, the head. We also have scraped the binding to clean that off. Royal pain in the butt, okay? Be forewarned, that's no fun. I should have taped it. I think it would be easier to tape it, but I watched a lot of videos how they actually do this, and they don't tape it. So, yeah, scraping it is a pain. I put a big scratch in the front of the guitar here. There's not really much I can do short of going backwards. So, hey, it is what it is, you know. But anyhow, what are we doing today? So today we're putting the clear coat on, and we're going to start with this aged clear, okay? It's a nitrocellulose lacquer. We're going to put about 1 or 2 coats of the aged clear on, and then we're going to finish it up by putting on coats of the regular lacquer clear coat. We're going to get the whole guitar. You see we've got the fretboard all taped off, and we're ready to go. So we're going to mask up, and in this episode we're going to do the clear, starting with the aged clear, then the regular clear, then we're going to go through all the wet sanding stages, and we're going to get this guitar all the way up to the point where we're ready to go ahead and put on the electronics, okay? So, first things first, this is the first can I've had to do this to me. People have complained with these color tone cans. They say to put them in hot water to warm up your paint, and I've done that. This is the first one where the label is actually, all the printing is actually coming off of the label. They need to do something. If they're going to recommend warming it up in a sink full of water, maybe these labels should hold up to that. So anyhow, this first can I've had really become a problem. It is what it is. Now this one has, all the others didn't have this. This one's got the bidirectional valve here, so you can shoot your fan out in different directions. You can have it going this way and fan it that way. You can have it fanning that way, which is what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to turn that. And I guess he just uses a pair of needle nose pliers. So we're going to turn that. We're going to start putting some aged clear on my guitar. So let's get to it. All right, and before I did this, I ran a little 4-0 steel wool over it, just to kind of get rid of any overspray or anything like that. Smooth it out a little bit, and then I hit it up with a tack cloth. So, okay, here we go. All right. I would prefer to do this in one stream, but it's hard to do. Boy, it sure does make that look nice. Wow, what a difference. Wow. Really looks pretty. That tobacco brown looks amazing. So that's it. That's the first coat. We're going to wrap it up for now, and we'll come back in a little bit and do a second coat of the aged clear. All right. So, counting the aged clear, this has about 10 coats of clear coat on it. And it looks pretty amazing. I'm very happy with it. Later we're going to find out I needed probably at least another 10. I mean, I really should have put a lot more on. It would have helped me in this step with the sanding and polishing. So I ended up doing 2 attempts at the sanding and polishing, and this is my first one. And I'm using a little bit of wet and dry sandpaper here, 600 grit, and then I'll go to my sanding sponges, which are really, really high grits. I think the lowest is like 1200, and they go up to 2800 or something like that. So the bottom line is I'm sanding. I'm going to stay working with the grain here. Now, as I go, what I'll do is I'll wipe away the water and get this nice and dry. And this is what I should be able to see here. Now, see those shiny spots? That means I'm not sanding enough there, okay? There should be no visible shiny spots, okay? That means it's lumpy, okay? Everything should be consistently, evenly flat here. So I'll go back and I'll do more sanding, and I'll do this over the entire face of the guitar. I am super happy with the way the back and the neck and the head look, so I'm not messing with those. This is all about getting a high gloss finish on the front of the guitar. So I will sand and sand and sand until it is consistently, evenly flat. And like I said, I'm going to do it twice, because I didn't do what I'm telling you to do here on this pass. And you'll see the difference here between the first go around and the second go around. But anyhow, I digress. So I have moved on to the sanding sponges, and I'm keeping everything nice and wet, but don't saturate it. You don't want a bunch of water pouring down into the holes in the guitar, and that's why I've got some paper towels in where the pickups go. And basically just sand, and sand some more. And what I'm going to be doing is I'll be going through finer and finer grits until I'm happy with it. But like I said, this is the first attempt. I will be doing a second. So I've gone through all the grits, and right for now I'm happy with where I'm at, but later I'm going to realize I need to do a better job. So at this point I'm just going to take off the tape off the fretboard, and I'm going to go ahead and start to polish this thing. And that's where I'm going to make another mistake. My polisher that I had died, and so I didn't have a polisher, so I'm going to try and hand polish it. So let's list all the mistakes I'm making here. First of all, I didn't sand well enough. Second of all, hand polishing really isn't going to get you where you want if you're shooting for a super high gloss finish like I am. So I'm stacking up mistake after mistake after mistake, which is why I'm going to have to do this twice. So I'm going to start out here with some rubbing compound. And rubbing compound is a little bit more aggressive than a polishing compound. And this will transition me from the sanding sponges to the polishing. Okay, so I'm just using a moistened buffing disc, and I'm using some of the rubbing compound, and I'm just working it in very nice and hard and trying to build up some shine to the guitar here. So I've gone over the entire guitar with the buffing compound, and now I'm just using a very soft cloth, and I'm rubbing all the residual off, and so far it looks pretty good. It won't be until I get through all of this that I'll look at it and realize that I need to do better. Now, with a new damp cloth, I'll go ahead and start applying the polishing compound. And this should really start to bring out the shine. Again, I really should be using a buffer. I'm not. It's going to make a huge difference, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I've got to go back over the entire guitar now again and rub all this in and really try and bring up the shine. And it will look nice. Okay? It will look nice. It's not going to look great. Okay? That's the thing. Now again, just like with the buffing compound, rubbing compound, I keep saying that wrong. With the rubbing compound, I'll now take a soft cloth and wipe away all the dried residual from the polishing compound, and I should have a really nice shine here. So I'm not going to be happy with that. I'm going to take one more step after this. So it's looking really good, and it's shiny and everything, and I'm happy so far. But I'm going to use some of my beloved flits. Flits will shine anything. It really will. So I'm putting some dabs of that on there, and I'm going to go over the entire guitar again and just try and get this as shiny as I can. So I'm using, again, a clean side of a pad that I've moistened, and I'm just going to start rubbing this in, and then I'll buff it off. So I buffed this all off, and I was kind of okay with it, but there was part of me that wasn't satisfied. And it wasn't until my wife said, "I can't believe you actually are thinking of leaving it that way. That's not like you." And I realized she was right, and I was like, you're right, I can't. So I went back and I sanded the whole thing all over again. I made sure that it was consistently evenly flat. And that's where I should have put more clear coat in, because I did start to get through the clear and take a little bit of the color. So, mistakes. I should have put more clear coat on. Mistakes. I should have done a better job of sanding. And you can see it right here. You can see the texture in it. And although, yeah, it's shiny, you can see all that texture, and I couldn't live with that, especially after the comment from my wife. I was like, she's right. I know she's right. I was just being stupid. Look in the upper corner of the guitar. See the texture in there? Can't live with it. So I went back and did everything over again, got it smooth, and this is the result I got this time around. And as a side note, I did go to Harbor Freight and buy a buffer to get this finished this time too. The front of my guitar is smooth. It is glass smooth. It is shiny. It is glossy. It is beautiful. I am super, super happy with it. Look how smooth that is. Do you see? You remember the texture you saw in the first pictures? Gone. All right, we're going to wrap up for today. We've done a lot of work, and I think it's starting to pay off. Well, it took a bit of effort and time, but we have a finish on the guitar, and we can now start thinking about the scary proposition of putting on all the hardware and installing the electrical components. That should be a lot of fun. I hope you loved this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, and be sure to click the notification bell so you never miss out on one of my projects. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I really do enjoy hearing from you all. It's one of my favorite things. I love to check in and see what you have to say. Okay, well, that's enough for today. Never forget, when you're shiny, everyone wants to stand next to you. Until next time, this is Paul from Fat Guy Productions saying, be good.